Have I ever felt like my own mornings were descending into disordered chaos while the Amish appeared to have everything under control? What if the key to beginning the day correctly has been concealed in plain sight for hundreds of years? These 20 Amish morning customs are not simply charming traditions. They are scientifically validated techniques that could reshape my entire day. From the cold water face wash that enhances alertness by 31% to the 1 hour earlier principle, boosting life satisfaction by 20%, these overlooked practices might be precisely what my contemporary morning routine lacks. Early rising, the quiet darkness preceding dawn, possesses a unique enchantment that few of us regularly witness. While many of us repeatedly hit the snooze button until the absolute last second, the Amish have been discreetly optimizing these valuable morning hours for generations. Getting up before the sun isn't merely an old-fashioned custom. It's their potent tool for productivity and tranquility. When I wake before others, I'm granted periods of quiet solitude that are exclusively mine. No emails, no calls, no obligations, just stillness. According to sleep experts, those serene pre-dawn hours coincide with some of our most productive cognitive states. The mind is often sharper after sleep, before being inundated with the day's information influx. This mental clarity is something the Amish have intuitively grasped through generations of routine. For the Amish, rising early isn't a choice. It's fundamental to their existence. Farm animals require attention, bread needs to be baked, and chores must be done before the main work of the day commences. What they've learned through this necessity is that these dawn hours provide something valuable beyond simple productivity, a clearer viewpoint. Many who have embraced this habit mention that problems seeming overwhelming the previous night somehow appear less daunting in the peaceful dawn. The world is hushed, the mind is clear, and solutions surface more easily. There's an inherent understanding that comes with greeting the day before it makes demands on me. Transitioning to early rising isn't always straightforward. The initial week usually involves some acclimatization as the body resists altering its set rhythms. However, persistence yields rewards. Most individuals report that after roughly 2 weeks of consistently rising early, their bodies naturally start waking earlier, sometimes even ahead of the alarm. Even if I'm not prepared to fully adopt the Amish 4:30 a.m. wake up, adjusting my schedule by just 30 minutes earlier can forge that sanctuary of serenity that truly matters. I can start small, setting my alarm only 10 minutes earlier for a week, then adding another 10 minutes the following week. What makes this practice achievable long-term is creating a purposeful start to the morning. For some, it's quiet reflection or prayer. For others, it's reading or outlining the day. Having a reason for those early hours helps solidify the habit. My body will adapt, and soon I might wonder how I ever managed without this quiet, golden period. Natural light exposure, emerging from a traditional Amish dwelling at sunrise, reveals something most contemporary humans overlook entirely. As the ascending sun bathes the sky in soft hues, Amish families are already soaking in those initial, vital rays. This isn't because they are inherently early risers, but because they comprehend something basic about our physiology that many of us have disregarded. Our bodies evolved over millennia to awaken with the sun and rest with the darkness. The Amish way of life naturally corresponds with these rhythms simply because they restrict artificial light. It's not religious dogma driving this practice, it's practicality interwoven with tradition that respects our innate biological cycles. Here is the compelling science. Morning sunlight exposure initiates a hormonal cascade in the body, notably cortisol, which aids in feeling alert and invigorated. This exposure also diminishes melatonin, the hormone-inducing sleepiness. Furthermore, morning light recalibrates the internal circadian clock, facilitating easier sleep onset when night arrives. Neglecting this morning light signal is akin to failing to program the body's internal alarm for the evening. A recent study indicated that individuals receiving morning sunlight exposure experienced up to 20% superior sleep quality compared to those who didn't. That represents the difference between waking revitalized and feeling utterly drained. Researchers propose that merely 15 to 30 minutes of morning sunlight can markedly enhance sleep quality. The Amish gain from this natural cadence without conscious effort. Their lifestyle necessitates outdoor morning tasks, from feeding animals to cultivating gardens. Modern lifestyles frequently keep us indoors during these critical morning hours, substituting artificial illumination that lacks the complete spectrum our bodies require. I don't need to fully embrace the Amish life to gain these advantages. Simply opening my blinds immediately upon waking, enjoying my morning coffee near a window, or spending just 5 minutes outdoors while the kettle heats can alert my body that a new day has dawned. For those in northern regions with prolonged winter darkness, light therapy lamps can offer similar effects. Implementing this minor adjustment, prioritizing natural light exposure first thing in the morning, can reshape my energy levels, mood, and sleep quality. My brain will be grateful, my sleep will improve, and I might just grasp why the Amish have been greeting the sun all these years. Morning oil lamp. Have I ever registered how jarring it feels when someone abruptly switches on a bright light while I'm still partially asleep? My eyes involuntarily narrow, my head might throb, and suddenly my tranquil morning shifts into an unpleasant jolt to the system. This is where the wisdom of the Amish illuminates, quite literally, but far more softly. Instead of intense overhead fixtures, many Amish families commence their days with the gentle, warm radiance of oil lamps. The sole product endorsement I'll make on this channel is for a book by Claude Davis, a seasoned survivalist, detailing 126 superfoods and preservation methods from critical periods like the Great Depression and wartime, which are not readily available elsewhere. I chose to promote his book because we represent the final generation capable of transmitting these techniques and knowledge of superfoods to our children or grandchildren. It would be regrettable to witness this information about highly nutrient-dense foods and preservation methods essential for surviving crises vanish. You can also locate a book concerning herbal remedies by Nicole Apelian in their store. If you're viewing this on TV, you can search for our channel, Frugal Solutions, on your phone or tablet and find the books by clicking the link provided in our channel description or any other video description. This isn't merely about custom or avoiding electricity. It concerns fostering a smooth transition from slumber to wakefulness that respects our physiology. Contemporary science has validated what the Amish have understood through practice. Studies demonstrate that exposure to bright artificial light first thing in the morning interrupts the body's inherent production of melatonin, the hormone regulating sleep cycles. The blue light present in most modern illumination is especially disruptive, signaling to the brain that it's midday when it might only be 5 a.m. Light color temperature is significantly important. The warm amber glow of an oil lamp around 1800 Kelvin on the Kelvin scale emulates the soft light of sunrise. In contrast, most modern LED and fluorescent lighting, 5000 plus Kelvin, emits a harsh blue-white light more akin to noon daylight. This disparity influences how our brains manage the transition from sleep to wakefulness. Researchers have discovered that exposure to blue light suppresses melatonin production twice as long as warm light and shifts circadian rhythms by twice the amount. This clarifies why many individuals who transition to gentler morning illumination report feeling more naturally awake rather than artificially jolted into awareness. The positive aspect is that I don't need to fully adopt Amish practices to apply this principle. Warm, dim lighting in the morning can be replicated with modern dimmers, low-wattage amber bulbs, or salt lamps. Some people utilize programmable smart lights that progressively brighten, mimicking sunrise. The essential element is creating that gradual transition phase where the body and mind can awaken naturally rather than being abruptly shocked into consciousness. Many who have implemented this habit report clearer thinking, improved mood, and even better digestion when starting their day with softer lighting. The Amish have upheld this practice not from obstinate resistance to advancement, but because they've observed its advantages across generations. Their mornings progress with deliberation rather than haste, commencing with illumination that honors the body's inherent rhythms. Simple hygiene. I can forget elaborate 12-step skincare regimens and bathroom counters overflowing with products. The Amish approach to morning hygiene cuts through all that complexity with invigorating simplicity. A basin of water, a washcloth, and soap. That's the extent of it. While modern bathrooms boast multiple shower heads, digital temperature adjustments, and enough products to supply a small store, Amish hygiene routines emphasize efficiency and practicality without compromising cleanliness. It's not about dedicating less time to being clean, it's about dedicating less time to superfluous steps. A conventional Amish morning wash entails filling a basin with water, occasionally warmed on a stove, then utilizing a washcloth for a head-to-toe cleanse. The entire procedure might last 5 minutes, yet it leaves one impeccably clean and prepared for the day. What might astound many is that this method actually offers several health advantages beyond merely saving time. The slight jolt of cooler water against the skin activates the mammalian diving reflex, which enhances circulation and heightens alertness. It's akin to coffee for the skin, but without the subsequent caffeine slump. Scientists have found that daily exposure to cold water can increase white blood cell count, potentially strengthening immunity over time. The Amish didn't require scientific validation for this. Generations of experience demonstrated that this uncomplicated practice maintained their health and alertness. The straightforwardness of this approach also mitigates decision fatigue. Without the need to select from dozens of products each morning, the mind stays clearer and more concentrated on genuinely important matters. This mental clarity is as beneficial as the physical cleanliness the practice affords. For those not quite prepared to forsake their hot showers, even incorporating a brief cool rinse at the conclusion can yield many of the same advantages. The key is rendering the practice simple and consistent, rather than transforming it into another intricate routine. Without numerous products and lengthy procedures, the Amish method of morning hygiene creates room for other significant activities while still commencing the day clean and invigorated. Their wash basins might appear rudimentary to modern sensibilities, but their simplicity contains a wisdom worth contemplating in our overly complicated world. Making the bed. The modest act of making my bed might appear insignificant within the larger context of morning rituals, but for the Amish, it signifies something considerably more substantial than merely tidying up. It relates to order, respect for one's personal space, and beginning the day with intention. In Amish dwellings, unmade beds are uncommon sights. Children are taught from a very young age that straightening sheets and blankets is simply standard procedure upon waking, not as a task to be completed, but as a natural extension of arising. This custom originates from the Amish conviction that orderliness in one's surroundings fosters orderliness in mind and spirit. Admiral William McRaven famously stated in his 2014 commencement address, "If you want to change the world, start by making your bed." This idea would resonate strongly within Amish communities where they have been shaping their smaller worlds through such straightforward actions for centuries. Research confirms this wisdom. A survey by the National Sleep Foundation revealed that individuals who make their beds each morning are 19% more inclined to report consistently achieving a good night's sleep. When a bedroom feels organized, the mind tends to follow. The appeal of this Amish morning habit resides in its simplicity and immediate payoff. Unlike many tasks requiring patience to see outcomes, a made bed offers instant gratification, visual confirmation that I've already achieved something, however minor, right at the day's outset. Psychologists term this a keystone habit, a practice initiating positive shifts in other life areas. People who consistently make their beds often report enhanced productivity, reduced stress levels, and even healthier dietary choices throughout the day. The Amish don't complicate this practice or transform it into an Instagram-worthy styling project. Their beds are typically simple, functional, comfortable, and tidy. The emphasis isn't on crafting a flawless magazine display, but on honoring one's space and commencing the day with purpose and order. As I transition from my newly made bed to confront the day, this small accomplishment accompanies me, a quiet affirmation that I am capable of seeing tasks through, even when unobserved. Morning posture alignment. My mother was correct all along about standing tall. Those regular admonitions to cease slouching weren't solely about appearances, they were about feeling better and maintaining health. In Amish communities, correct posture isn't merely instructed, it's embodied daily through physical labor and conscious movement. The typical morning involves deliberate attention to body positioning during early chores and activities. Without overtly discussing posture, they naturally preserve alignment through their work. Observing an Amish farmer during morning barn tasks, I'd notice they bend at the knees, not the waist, maintaining a straight back rather than hunching. Researchers at Cornell University discovered that good posture elevates testosterone by up to 20%, while diminishing cortisol, the stress hormone, by 25%. Essentially, standing upright actually makes one feel more capable and less stressed, an ideal combination for initiating the day. Most contemporary individuals exhibit posture that would make an Amish grandmother cringe. We hunch over phones, slump at desks, and contort our spines into positions that would baffle a contortionist. By midlife, many people's shadows possess better posture than they do. Unlike complex exercise regimens, the Amish method for morning posture is refreshingly uncomplicated. Be mindful of alignment during routine tasks. When washing my face, I should avoid hunching over the sink. While preparing breakfast, I should keep my shoulders back and relaxed. These minor adjustments cost nothing and necessitate no special gear or instruction. The Amish have comprehended for generations what physical therapists now charge significant fees to teach. Good posture serves as preventive medicine. Their communities exhibit substantially lower rates of back pain and associated problems compared to the general populace, despite engaging in physical labor that might appear to place them at greater risk. This approach to morning posture doesn't demand allocating specific time for exercises. It's woven into the fabric of daily activities. As I navigate my morning routine, simply being conscious of how I hold my body can transform not only my physical sensation, but also my mental state. When we stand correctly aligned, breathing naturally deepens, oxygen circulation improves, and even digestion functions more effectively. It's a straightforward modification with profound impacts on overall well-being. Morning stretching outdoors. As dawn illuminates an Amish farm, I won't observe people unfurling yoga mats or mirroring fitness app instructors. Instead, I'll witness something far more natural. Stretching integrated seamlessly into morning work, almost invariably in the crisp outdoor air. Merging movement with morning air forms a potent health concoction that modern fitness trends are only now starting to acknowledge. The Amish have practiced outdoor stretching for centuries, not as a distinct exercise session, but as an organic fusion of motion and environment. An intriguing study published in the Journal of Environmental Psychology determined that outdoor exercise enhances mental well-being considerably more than identical movements executed indoors. Specifically, outdoor stretching in the morning boosts oxygen intake by approximately 20% compared to indoor stretching, supplying more energy to the brain and muscles precisely when needed most. The human body evolved to move in open environments, inhaling fresh air while stretching and laboring. Amish communities preserve this linkage through morning chores that inherently involve reaching, bending, and stretching. Their bodies remain supple, not through scheduled yoga classes, but through purposeful activity. The elegance of the Amish approach rests in its simplicity. No special attire, gear, or membership dues are required. Uncomplicated movements like reaching skyward, gentle lateral bends, and forward folds awaken the body progressively and naturally. These actions consume less than 3 minutes, yet prepare muscles and joints for the day ahead. Morning air also contains elevated levels of negative ions, which some research indicates may enhance mood and energy levels. The Amish don't rely on scientific studies for this knowledge. Generations of experience have demonstrated that movement in the morning air simply feels superior. This organic approach to morning movement respects the body's requirement to ease into activity rather than being abruptly thrust into high-intensity exertion. By stretching outdoors as part of meaningful work, the Amish circumvent the artificial divide between exercise and daily living that characterizes many modern fitness routines. For those seeking to integrate this wisdom, the most direct method is to take their morning stretch routine outdoors. Even a small balcony, porch, or lawn patch can serve as a connection to this natural way of commencing the day. Simple clothing choices. The wardrobe dilemma, that daily moment of indecision while facing numerous clothing options, is entirely unfamiliar within Amish communities. Their strategy for morning clothing choices could potentially revolutionize my start to the day, and it involves neither adopting plain attire nor discarding my favorite garments. Researchers approximate that the average individual makes around 35,000 decisions daily, resulting in a phenomenon psychologists term decision fatigue. By mid-afternoon, the brain is taxed from choosing, explaining why many of us make suboptimal decisions later on. The Amish circumvent this entire issue with clothing systems so straightforward they scarcely demand cognitive effort. In Amish households, selecting morning attire takes mere seconds, not minutes or hours. With constrained choices and distinct functions for each piece of clothing, the question of what to wear hardly registers as a decision. This liberates mental energy for more significant concerns right from the day's beginning. Former Apple CEO Steve Jobs famously embraced this principle with his iconic black turtleneck and jeans, establishing a personal uniform that eliminated one daily decision. Barack Obama employed a similar tactic with his blue or gray suits, explaining, "I don't want to make decisions about what I'm eating or wearing because I have too many other decisions to make." The Amish method doesn't necessitate identical clothing, merely deliberate constraint. Many who have adopted this principle establish simple uniforms or capsule wardrobes where items easily coordinate. Some assign specific outfits to particular days, entirely removing the need for choice. Studies indicate that reducing morning decision-making concerning clothing can save up to 15 minutes daily and, notably, decrease stress levels. This accumulates to over 90 hours annually reclaimed from clothing deliberations, time better spent on more meaningful morning pursuits. This conscious limitation achieves more than just time savings. It also lessens the anxiety many experience regarding clothing choices and societal judgment. When my wardrobe prioritizes function and adheres to simple guidelines, getting dressed becomes one less source of worry. In our culture saturated with endless choices and options, this Amish principle serves as a reminder that sometimes less genuinely is more, particularly first thing in the morning when mental energy is most precious. Purposeful silence. The contemporary world incessantly talks. From the moment we awaken, we're inundated with notifications, news updates, traffic alerts, and the pervasive hum of technology. Silence has grown so uncommon that many find it unsettling. In stark contrast, intentional silence constitutes the bedrock of an Amish morning. Before the day's labor earnestly begins, many Amish families incorporate periods of quiet contemplation, not necessarily formal meditation, but as an inherent aspect of their rhythm. This silence isn't vacant, it's imbued with presence and purpose. Scientists have found that just 2 minutes of silence can induce greater relaxation than listening to calming music. In a 2006 study, researchers observed that silent intervals between sounds activated brain regions associated with self-awareness and memory consolidation. Essentially, our brains utilize silence to process experiences. Noise pollution in modern settings has demonstrable effects on health. Studies reveal that excessive noise elevates cortisol levels and blood pressure while impairing cognitive function. Many people inadvertently initiate their day with a stress response triggered simply by the din of alarms, news, and notifications. Cultivating pockets of silence doesn't necessitate relocating to an Amish farm. Even within bustling households, moments can be found before others awaken, perhaps in a quiet corner with tea, or even during a shower with the fan off. The crucial element is rendering silence deliberate rather than merely accidental. In Amish homes this morning, silence frequently occurs naturally as individuals proceed through early chores with minimal talk. It's not about enforcing quietude or rigid regulations. It's about acknowledging the value of affording the mind space before inundating it with information and obligations. As I foster purposeful silence in my mornings, I might uncover what the Amish have recognized for generations, that a quiet commencement fosters mental clarity that supports me through the inevitable noise encountered later in the day. Just as a blank canvas permits an artist to create intentionally, a quiet mind enables deliberate shaping of the day. The practice of morning silence furnishes a reset for the nervous system, allowing the body to linger in a parasympathetic, rest and digest state longer before transitioning to sympathetic, fight or flight activation. This physiological equilibrium might explain why those practicing morning silence report enhanced stress management throughout the day. Morning journaling. Armed with a pencil stub and an unadorned notebook, the Amish have maintained a practice that costly journals and sophisticated pens cannot enhance. Morning journaling. In Amish communities, this activity bears no resemblance to the intricate layouts shared on social media, yet it achieves something far more valuable, clearing the mind for the day ahead. The restricted artificial light in traditional Amish homes fosters ideal conditions for reflection. Without glaring screens and incessant stimulation, thoughts flow more organically onto paper. Many Amish start their day by noting simple observations, work plans, or expressions of gratitude, not as performance art, but as practical mental decluttering. Neuroscience corroborates this practice enthusiastically. Research from UCLA showed that handwriting activates brain regions involved in thinking, language, and working memory in ways typing simply doesn't replicate. The physical motion of forming letters on paper establishes neural pathways that aid in processing emotions and structuring thoughts. A study published in the Journal of Experimental Psychology discovered that writing by hand enhances memory recall by up to 25% compared to typing identical information. For the Amish, this memory boost serves a practical function in a lifestyle where written reminders aren't always conveniently accessible. Despite penmanship challenges many encounter when first returning to handwriting, the advantages of morning journaling remain significant. Psychologists have found that committing thoughts to paper diminishes rumination and anxiety while augmenting focus throughout the day. I essentially grant my brain permission to cease retaining everything, knowing it's securely documented. The Amish approach to journaling is refreshingly straightforward. No specific techniques or complex prompts, just honest documentation of thoughts, plans, or observations. This simplicity renders the practice accessible and sustainable, explaining its endurance for generations within their communities. 2 minutes with 3 basic prompts: what I'm grateful for, what I aim to achieve, and what's currently occupying my mind, can deliver the same mental clarity the Amish attain through their morning writing. The key isn't perfection or volume, but consistency and authenticity on the page. Modern adaptations might involve keeping a plain notebook by the bedside or at the breakfast table, ready for morning reflections without the pressure to produce something aesthetically pleasing or profound. Journaling thus becomes a tool rather than another chore to perfect. The dawn porch sitting threshold time is what some Amish families term it, those valuable minutes spent seated on the porch as day emerges, observing the world's transition from darkness to light. It's neither idleness nor procrastination. It's deliberate observation, connecting them to both nature and the impending day's labor. Psychologists have a designation for spaces like porches, liminal spaces, thresholds between differing states. These transitional places exert unique influences on our thinking, frequently igniting creativity and perspective. The porch resides between private and public domains, between home and the wider world, establishing ideal conditions for transition time. Studies on creativity indicate that 72% of individuals report experiencing creative insights while showering, another liminal space. The Amish porch sitting custom leverages the same psychological principle, establishing a daily routine of threshold observation that sharpens awareness and often yields practical insights regarding weather, seasons, and work planning. This practice demands nothing beyond a chair and a readiness to be present. No specialized gear, no subscription costs, no intricate guidelines, just the self-discipline to create separation between sleeping and doing. In contemporary life, we frequently rush directly from bed into activity, bypassing this vital buffer zone. Scientists investigating attention restoration theory have discovered that even brief intervals spent observing natural surroundings, such as those witnessed during dawn porch sitting, can replenish our capacity for focus and decision-making. The shifting light, the subtle motions of flora and fauna, and the gradual awakening of the world provide perfect conditions for mental revitalization. The Amish have upheld this practice not merely due to tradition, but because they've felt its benefits across generations. Their mornings commence with observation rather than information intake, carving out space for natural transitions instead of abrupt shifts from sleep to productivity. Even apartment residents can adapt this habit using a window, balcony, or nearby outdoor area. The essential element is crafting my own version of threshold time, a moment to witness the day's inception before actively participating in it. This practice aids in setting a boundary between rest and activity, enabling a gentler transition that respects the body's inherent awakening process. Herbal tea rituals. Steaming mugs of aromatic herbs take the place of our modern coffee dependence in traditional Amish kitchens. While the remainder of America collectively consumes enough coffee annually to fill over 400 Olympic-sized swimming pools, the Amish have preserved their connection to simpler morning beverages that invigorate without the subsequent crash. Herbal preparations within Amish communities aren't fashionable or Instagram-worthy. They are practical health customs passed down through generations. Mint, chamomile, dandelion root, and locally gathered herbs feature in morning cups, offering gentle stimulation without fostering dependency. The ritual itself holds as much significance as the ingredients. Allocating time to boil water, steep herbs, and relish the resulting infusion creates a moment of pause before the day's activities earnestly begin. This deliberate preparation starkly contrasts with our drive-through coffee culture, where beverages are often consumed hastily on the move. The scientific advantages of herbal morning drinks merit attention. Research indicates that herbs like peppermint can enhance alertness and memory without the adrenal fatigue associated with caffeine. Lemon balm diminishes morning stress hormones, while ginger boosts circulation and digestion. All benefits the Amish have noted through practical experience. What distinguishes the Amish approach isn't solely the beverage selection, but the mindfulness enveloping it. Morning drinks aren't ingested while multitasking or dashing out. They are enjoyed seated, frequently in silence or quiet conversation, establishing a transition moment rather than merely a caffeine delivery mechanism. Crafting my own herbal morning ritual doesn't necessitate relocating to an Amish farm. Simple blends like mint and lemon balm for energy, chamomile and lavender for calm focus, or dandelion and nettle for detoxification can be prepared swiftly. The key is infusing presence into the process, making the preparation itself part of my morning practice rather than just another task to check off. As I sip my morning herbs, I connect not only with Amish wisdom, but with a human tradition stretching back millennia, long before the coffee maker or energy drink was invented. This ancient practice of commencing the day with plant-based remedies remains pertinent precisely because it is effective, not merely because it's currently popular. Beyond the physical benefits, this ritual fosters a moment of intentional self-care before directing attention outward to the day's demands. Breakfast. The morning meal unfolds differently in Amish residences. No sugary cereal advertisements have swayed their breakfast selections. No Pop-Tarts emerge from toasters, and no one snatches a breakfast bar while rushing off. Instead, breakfasts are straightforward, nourishing, and almost invariably communal. Oatmeal steams in wooden bowls. Fresh bread from the previous day's baking appears with homemade jam or apple butter. Seasonal fruits adorn the table, alongside eggs from the family's own hens. Nothing necessitates a barcode scan or a nutrition facts panel. Most ingredients originate within walking distance of the kitchen. Modern nutritionists might find it surprising that the simple Amish breakfast aligns perfectly with current research on optimal morning nourishment. Studies demonstrate that balanced meals comprising complex carbohydrates, protein, and healthy fats deliver sustained energy, unlike the spike and crash pattern typical of contemporary breakfast items. Research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition discovered that individuals consuming protein-rich breakfasts ingested approximately 200 fewer calories throughout the day, compared to those starting primarily with carbohydrates. The Amish naturally attain this balance through eggs, milk, and more substantial grains. What truly distinguishes the Amish breakfast, however, isn't merely the food itself, but the manner in which it's consumed. Meals are communal events, with family members present and interacting. No phones, no television news, no haste. Research indicates that children who eat breakfast with family perform better academically and exhibit fewer behavioral issues than those eating alone or on the run. The Amish don't require scientific validation to understand that how one begins nourishing the body impacts everything subsequent. Generations of observation have taught them that steady energy derived from simple foods better supports their active lifestyle than the alternatives. This approach to breakfast also inherently limits processed sugars and refined carbohydrates, which research links to mid-morning energy slumps and heightened hunger later. By concentrating on whole foods, the Amish maintain more stable blood sugar levels and sustained energy. Adapting this practice doesn't necessitate rejecting modern conveniences entirely. Steel-cut oats can cook overnight in a slow cooker. Bread can be baked on weekends and savored throughout the week. The core principle isn't replicating an exact Amish menu, but embracing the tenets of simplicity, wholeness, and presence that render their breakfast so effective for sustaining energy and health. Making bread, the gentle cadence of hands kneading dough, has welcomed countless mornings in Amish homes. While most Americans retrieve factory-made loaves from grocery store shelves without a second thought, the Amish have safeguarded the art of morning bread making as an integral component of their daily rhythm. Commencing the day with bread making isn't solely about procuring fresh food. Research has uncovered something the Amish realized through experience. Kneading dough triggers endorphin release and lowers stress hormones. The rhythmic pushing and folding action induces a meditative state akin to what athletes term the zone. It's practical mindfulness disguised as a household task. An intriguing fact: the aroma of baking bread has been demonstrated to elicit greater kindness among strangers. In a study published in the Journal of Social Psychology, researchers found individuals were more inclined to assist a stranger if they encountered them near a bakery, emitting the fragrance of fresh bread. The science underpinning bread-making's psychological advantages is compelling. The tactile engagement with dough activates sensory pathways capable of alleviating anxiety. Additionally, the predictable transformation of basic ingredients into something nourishing fosters a sense of achievement that establishes a positive ambiance for the day. Modern bread making need not dominate my entire morning. The Amish themselves frequently employ a method where dough preparation begins one day and concludes the next. Simple no-knead recipes demand only minutes of active involvement, yet yield delicious outcomes. The key is integrating some facet of this practice, whether setting dough to rise overnight or simply pausing to appreciate the bread I possess. In our rush towards convenience, we've forfeited many sensory delights and psychological gains associated with food preparation. The Amish preserve these connections not from stubborn opposition to progress, but because they discern the latent value in apparently simple tasks. Their morning bread making nurtures both body and mind in ways pre-sliced loaves cannot replicate. Whether I'm baking from scratch or merely taking a moment to savor my toast, the Amish reminder to connect with our food provides a potent means to ground my morning in something tangible and real before the workday's abstractions commence. Morning memory training. While most of us depend on our phones to recall everything from shopping lists to scheduled appointments, the Amish exercise their memory capacity each morning through deliberate practice. Lacking digital aids, they have maintained cognitive abilities that modern neuroscience is now striving to help us recover. The typical Amish day starts with a mental rundown rather than digital prompts. Work schedules, community requirements, and family duties are remembered rather than documented. This isn't due to a scarcity of paper. It stems from their understanding that memory, akin to any muscle, strengthens through usage and weakens through disuse. Neuroscientists have discovered that the hippocampus, the brain area crucial for memory formation, actually enlarges in individuals who regularly exercise their memory. London taxi drivers memorizing thousands of streets exhibit physically larger hippocampal regions compared to bus drivers following predetermined routes. Just 15 minutes of morning memory practice can enhance cognitive function by up to 30% throughout the day, according to research from Stanford University. The Amish derive this benefit naturally via their lifestyle, whereas many of us experience deteriorating memory function due to over-reliance on devices. Despite occasional memory lapses inherent to everyone, the advantages of morning memory training extend far beyond remembering tasks. Regular memory exercise builds cognitive reserve, additional neural pathways offering protection against age-related decline and dementia. It acts as mental insurance yielding benefits decades later. Integrating Amish-inspired memory training into contemporary mornings is surprisingly straightforward. I can begin by memorizing a brief poem or quotation each week, reviewing it daily. Progress to recalling my day's agenda without consulting my calendar. Eventually, attempt remembering shopping lists or key points for meetings without notation. The Amish tradition reminds us that convenience frequently carries hidden drawbacks. While our devices retain everything for us, we lose the mental exertion that maintains brain acuity and adaptability. Their morning memory routines preserve cognitive function that many of us must endeavor to rebuild later in life. This practice doesn't necessitate abandoning technology entirely, but rather carving out intentional periods in our day where we utilize our inherent cognitive faculties instead of digital assistance. The no electricity hour, living without electricity, isn't merely an Amish religious adherence. It's a practice yielding surprising advantages for the brain and body, particularly during morning hours. The constraint often perceived as a difficulty might actually represent a concealed benefit in our excessively stimulated world. What transpires when I spend the initial hour of my day entirely devoid of electrical devices? According to neuroscience research, my brainwave patterns shift significantly. Without the electromagnetic fields emanating from phones, computers, and other gadgets, my brain naturally transitions into more relaxed and focused states. An intriguing study from the University of California found that individuals commencing their day without electronic exposure exhibit a 37% enhancement in creative problem-solving capabilities compared to those immediately checking their devices. Researchers posit this disparity arises from permitting the brain to awaken naturally without immediate processing demands. The average American checks their phone within 10 minutes of waking, many doing so before even getting out of bed. This instantaneous exposure to information, notifications, and blue light activates stress hormones before the day has truly begun. The Amish, conversely, start with natural cadences and face-to-face interactions. I don't need to install an Amish-style gas lamp to gain from this practice. Simply establishing a device-free interval after waking can reshape my morning experience. I can try keeping phones and computers inaccessible for the first hour, utilizing a traditional alarm clock instead of my phone, and postponing news intake until later. The physical impacts of this habit are also quantifiable. Researchers have documented lower blood pressure and heart rate in individuals initiating their day without electromagnetic exposure. Morning cortisol levels, a primary stress hormone, decrease by nearly 30% when people postpone digital engagement for even 30 minutes after waking. The Amish have preserved this experience not from technological unawareness, but from observing its consequences. Their communities notice clearer thinking, more meaningful dialogue, and enhanced manual dexterity during their technology-limited mornings. These advantages translate directly into their craftsmanship, farming achievements, and community cohesion. This practice also aids in sustaining healthy circadian rhythms. Without artificial light and screen blue light disrupting melatonin production, the body can better uphold its natural sleep-wake cycle, resulting in improved sleep quality and morning alertness. Chores before pleasure. First things first might serve as the unofficial morning mantra in Amish communities nationwide. While many of us instinctively reach for our phones to scan social media before addressing essential duties, the Amish adhere to a different sequence, completing responsibilities prior to engaging in any form of recreation or leisure. This principle isn't about withholding enjoyment. Rather, it establishes a psychological groundwork that numerous productivity experts now endorse. By addressing necessary tasks initially in the morning, the Amish naturally employ what psychologists term task initiation momentum, the propensity for finishing one task to facilitate starting the subsequent one. Research from Harvard Business School discovered that individuals completing a meaningful task within the first hour of waking report 38% greater satisfaction with their entire day compared to those postponing responsibilities. The initial feeling of accomplishment initiates a positive feedback cycle that bolsters motivation for hours afterward. Examining the typical Amish morning illustrates this principle vividly. Barn chores, animal feeding, and crucial household tasks precede breakfast, conversation, or reading. This sequence isn't random. It's a time-proven strategy yielding both practical and psychological advantages. What renders this approach effective isn't solely willpower or self-discipline. Neuroscience reveals that the brain's executive function, our capacity for decision-making and impulse control, peaks in the morning. By aligning important tasks with our optimal cognitive period, the Amish naturally enhance their productivity without intricate systems or applications. Incorporating this practice doesn't necessitate adopting an Amish lifestyle. Simply identifying one or two essential tasks to finish before any leisure pursuits can transform my morning efficiency. Whether it involves preparing lunches, reviewing vital documents, or managing email, completing these duties first generates momentum that persists throughout the day. The Amish comprehension of human nature is evident in this custom. They recognize that when enjoyment precedes obligation, tasks frequently face delay or avoidance. Their morning sequence isn't rooted in self-denial. It aims to create conditions where work feels fulfilling rather than burdensome. This approach also minimizes what psychologists label task-switching costs. By grouping responsibilities before leisure, the mind can fully concentrate on each activity instead of perpetually oscillating between work and pleasure. Repairing something small. While most contemporary households amass an expanding assortment of broken items awaiting eventual repair, Amish communities operate on a distinct rhythm. Minor repairs integrate into the morning routine, preventing small issues from escalating into major dilemmas and fostering a healthy relationship with material goods. The typical Amish morning might involve mending a loose chair leg, reattaching a button, or patching a torn garment. Tasks consuming mere minutes, but which would otherwise accumulate into daunting projects. This method isn't about innate handiness, it's about cultivating a maintenance perspective that prolongs the lifespan of everything they possess. Environmental scientists have estimated that if Americans repaired just 10% of the items they currently discard, landfill waste would diminish by approximately 132 million tons annually. The Amish achieve substantially higher repair rates organically, without environmental advocacy dictating their actions. Studies on psychological well-being reveal notable advantages from this repair-focused approach. Individuals who regularly mend items experience up to 40% greater satisfaction with their possessions compared to those replacing items upon breakage. The investment of effort fosters emotional attachment and perceived worth that new acquisitions cannot replicate. Integrating minor repairs into my morning yields remarkable benefits. The sense of agency and competence derived from resolving problems, even minuscule ones, establishes a tone of capability influencing how I confront larger challenges later. The Amish preference for morning repairs arises from practical wisdom. Manual dexterity typically peaks within a few hours of waking, facilitating detailed work. Furthermore, completing a repair provides a tangible sense of accomplishment that purely digital tasks often lack. For those without Amish-level skills, starting small is crucial. Sewing a button, tightening loose screws, or gluing broken pieces requires minimal expertise but builds confidence for more substantial projects. The objective isn't overnight mastery, but developing the habit of upkeep rather than disposal. What truly distinguishes the Amish approach isn't the repairs themselves, but the underlying mentality. They regard objects as deserving care rather than as temporary conveniences, forging relationships with their possessions that stand in stark contrast to our disposable culture. Walking instead of driving. Each footstep holds significance in Amish communities where walking persists as the primary mode for short-distance travel. This isn't merely about tradition or religious constraints. It concerns connecting with the surroundings, preserving physical health, and establishing natural transitions between activities. Did I know that Amish individuals typically walk between 14,000 and 18,000 steps daily? That's nearly triple the average American's 5,000 steps. This isn't because they are fitness devotees tracking steps. It's simply the inherent outcome of a lifestyle where walking fulfills practical needs rather than being confined to dedicated exercise periods. The health advantages of this approach are remarkable. Research published in the Journal of the American Medical Association found that Amish communities exhibit obesity rates 80% lower than the general American populace, despite diets including ample, hearty, home-cooked fare. Their morning walking habits significantly contribute to this disparity. Walking to initiate the day triggers a cascade of physiological benefits that coffee cannot rival. Morning light exposure during walks regulates circadian rhythms, enhancing subsequent sleep quality. The gentle motion activates the lymphatic system, aiding waste removal from cells and tissues, essentially performing bodily housekeeping. The cognitive benefits might surpass even the physical ones. Studies indicate that walking before engaging in mental work boosts creative output by an average of 60% compared to remaining seated. The Amish naturally leverage this creative enhancement through their morning walking routines. This practice also establishes natural transition phases between home and work, permitting the mind to shift contexts progressively rather than suddenly. In modern parlance, we might term this a commute devoid of traffic stress, time to process thoughts, mentally prepare for upcoming activities, or simply relish the sensory experience of moving through the world. I don't need to sell my car and acquire a buggy to incorporate this Amish wisdom. Minor substitutions yield significant impact. Walking to a neighbor's instead of driving, parking farther away in lots, or simply taking a 10-minute morning walk before commencing my day. For those unable to walk outdoors due to location or physical constraints, even walking indoors can provide many similar benefits. The crucial element is movement integrated into the daily pattern, rather than isolated as designated exercise time. The Amish Rumspringa morning freedom within established boundaries forms the basis for the most renowned Amish tradition, Rumspringa, a phase when young adults venture into the world beyond their communities before determining whether to embrace the Amish way of life. This principle of managed exploration offers potent morning wisdom, even for those who will never operate a horse and buggy. Adapting the Rumspringa concept to my morning routine involves occasionally deviating from established patterns, not haphazardly but deliberately. Research in neuroscience indicates that periodic routine disruption enhances cognitive flexibility and prevents the brain from rigidly adhering to specific pathways. Scientists at University College London discovered that individuals occasionally varying their morning routines demonstrate 23% superior problem-solving abilities compared to those who never deviate. The brain, it appears, benefits from occasional novelty almost as much as from consistency. The Amish application of this principle is nuanced yet significant. While maintaining consistent practices most days, many Amish families permit occasional morning variations, perhaps breakfast outdoors on a pleasant day or starting with a different chore than usual. These minor adjustments prevent inflexibility while preserving the overall structure that serves them effectively. Crafting my version of a rumspringa morning doesn't entail abandoning all structure or duties. Instead, it involves identifying safe parameters within which to explore alternatives to my customary patterns. Perhaps it's taking a different route to work, trying a novel breakfast item, or initiating the day with an activity typically reserved for evenings. The psychological advantage stems from exercising adaptability muscles in small, controlled increments. This fosters resilience that proves beneficial when life inevitably presents unexpected changes. The Amish cultivate this flexibility naturally through their community customs, whereas many contemporary individuals become increasingly fixed in their routines. This practice corresponds with what psychologists term psychological flexibility, the capacity to adjust to fluctuating circumstances and shift perspective when needed. Research demonstrates that individuals possessing greater psychological flexibility report higher life satisfaction and lower rates of anxiety and depression. Implementing this concept might involve designating one morning per week or month as my rumspringa morning, a time to intentionally alter my routine while upholding overall commitments and responsibilities. The Amish have preserved morning wisdom that modern science now substantiates. By embracing simplicity, intentional transitions, and mindful habits, they illustrate how we can reclaim our mornings. These timeless practices don't necessitate rejecting technology, merely recalling what truly matters as we commence each day.